Welcome back to Timeless Black Excellence. I'm your host, Abdias Dalisbe. In today's segment, we're going to be talking about African American comic book characters, Black anime characters, and a Black owned and operated comic book company called Milestone Media. Thank you for tuning in to Timeless Limitless. Please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like and share. Now, we have all seen how many movies based on comic books have become some of the biggest selling franchises in entertainment history, such as the Justice League, Avengers, and X-Men. Although we do see African Americans in these movies playing roles as superheroes, historically, African Americans have been underrepresented in the hero world and also behind the scenes as the creative engines behind these larger-than-life characters. Of course, there are certain characters that will always ring a bell, like Black Panther, Blade, and Storm. But let's give you a crash course on some of these lesser-known superheroes and comic book characters over the past century. In 1947, the All-Negro Comics single-issue comic book was published. It was the first publication exclusively by Black artists. It was circulated only with the Black community, and stories included tales of Ace Harlem and Lion Man, both considered early Black comic book heroes. In 1954, Marvel Comics' predecessor Atlas Comics published the Jungle Tales series, including Waku, Prince of Bantu. Waku is widely seen as the first Black mainstream comic book star, an intelligent, enlightened African tribal chief who had to defend his leadership position and protect his people from danger. The first African American hero with his own comic book series of the same name was Lobo. In 1965. Published by Dell Comics, the gunslinger fought the bad guys in the Wild West. The series was discontinued after 2 editions, reportedly because many retailers refused to carry the comic. Did you know that the first appearance of Black Panther was in 1966? An African who first appeared in Fantastic Four number 52, he was originally conceived by Jack Kirby as a character named Coal Tiger. In 1967, the Amazing Spider-Man introduces Joseph Robbie Robertson. He was one of the first Black characters in comics to play a serious supporting role, rather than acting as comic relief. Acting as a voice of reason, he is friendly and supported by Peter Parker. In the 1980s, the character's backstory was explored, and these stories were well received by the readers and contributed to a greater interest in his character. The character has appeared in several adaptations outside of comics over the years, including films, animated series, and video games. Sam Wilson as Falcon, Captain America, originally appeared in 1969. More recently, he has been in several Avengers movies. Green Lantern, aka John Stewart, came out in 1971. But since then has been played by several non-Black actors. Though he later became a Netflix series, Luke Cage made his first appearance in 1972. Did you know the first issue of Blade dropped in 1973? Storm made her first appearance in X-Men in 1975. Also in 1975, Misty Knight was first mentioned in Marvel Premiere number 20 and appeared in the next issue. The following year, in 1976, Bumblebee of Teen Titans was introduced. Historically, Bumblebee is sometimes considered DC Comics' first Black woman superhero character. Black Lightning came out in 1977. He holds the title of being DC Comics' first Black superhero with a title all his own. His character was resurrected and the series introduces his daughters Anissa, which is Thunder, and his youngest daughter Jennifer. In 1978, Vixen came onto the scene. Vixen was intended to be the first African female DC superhero to star in her own series, but the first issue of her series was cancelled in the DC implosion in 1978, which was never to be released. Since her debut in the Action Comics, she has primarily appeared in the Justice League and Suicide Squad. In 1980, Victor Stone, aka Cyborg, was introduced. And in 1992, Spawn was introduced to the masses and received very well. In 1993, a coalition of African American artists and writers named Dennis Cohen, Michael Davis, Derek T. Dingle, and Dwayne McDuffie formed Milestone Media and launched Milestone Comics through DC Comics. They believed that minorities were severely underrepresented in American comics. Milestone Media was their attempt to correct this imbalance. For the first time, African American creators were able to truly tackle challenging subjects of race, generational conflicts, teenage sexuality, and more. Milestone Media struck a deal with DC Comics under which DC would publish Milestone's comics, but Milestone would retain all legal and creative control, including copyright. The comics were published under the Milestone imprint. All of the Milestone titles took place in the same universe, separate from the DC universe. Most were set in the fictional Midwestern city of Dakota. The Milestone universe is commonly referred to as Dakotaverse. Characters from mainstream DC Comics existed only as comic book characters in the Dakota universe, which caused confusion when the two briefly intertwined during the events of Worlds Collide in 1994. Although Worlds Collide would be remembered by all the Milestone characters who took part in it, it was erased out of mainstream DC continuity by Zero Hour, which took place immediately afterwards. They also introduced some truly unforgettable characters and the Blood Syndicate. The Blood Syndicate is a fictional, multicultural gang of superhumans created by Milestone Comics. The team first appeared in Blood Syndicate #1 in April 1993. Characters include Wise Sun, Tech 9, Aquamarina. She can control frozen ice and water in any form. Her body is entirely composed of water. DMZ, his broad array of powers include flight, superhuman strength, stamina, and heightened senses. Brickhouse, Holocaust, a former member of the Blood Syndicate who broke bad. Holocaust can project deadly flames from his body and also project flames right through the ground. He can make himself so hot bullets melt from touching him. Boogeyman, Dog, Fade, Flashback, Kawaii, Masquerade, Oro, Third World, Hardware, who happens to be a genius. Inside the hardware armor, he is a technological force of nature. The MCU Iron Man in particular inherits a lot of ideas from hardware, including being made of plasticized metal that covers extremities, fluid gun, retractable sword, plasma whip, and more. Starlight. In many ways, she became the Milestone equivalent of Captain Marvel. She generates more than just electromagnetic fields. She generates energy across the entire electromagnetic spectrum, including X-ray and infrared. Starlight fires energy beams, absorbs energy, can manipulate energy, including creating holograms. She can fly, she can teleport, she basically can do it all. Zombie was once dead, but highly advanced nanotechnology returned him to life. He is now immortal and able to regenerate from an injury or a wound. Icon is a hero just like Superman. He is an alien refugee from another world, his powers are similar to Superman's. Icon possesses superhuman strength, stamina, and speed. He can fly, he has heightened senses. Icon can project energy beams and create energy shields. He has de-accelerated aging that allows him to exist on Earth for over 100 years. And Rocket. Rocket is generally known as the sidekick to Icon, one of the most powerful characters in any universe. She has the inertia belt. The belt is a piece of alien technology that arrived on Earth with Icon and grants her the inertia field, which absorbs and then stores any of the kinetic energy that's used against it. And one of the most popular characters, Static, had his own series and plenty of adventures in recent DC Comics. Also known as Virgil Hawkins, Static Shock generates a powerful electromagnetic field that creates shields and also levitates objects and himself. As a result, he can fly or fling magnetic objects, making him an offensive and defensive powerhouse. But that's not all. He can generate electricity and electrical fields, creating huge electrokinetic bursts. Static also arguably paved the way for other teen heroes like Miles Morales, Kong, Riri Williams, just to say a few. The last three ongoing Milestone titles, Static Volume 1, Icon Volume 1, and Hardware Volume 1, were cancelled mid-story in 1997. In 2000, Milestone Media launched the Static Shock animated series on Kids WB. It ran for 4 seasons, totaling 52 episodes from 2000 to 2004. Static was a member of the Teen Titans for several issues toward the end of the Teen Titans Volume 3. He teamed with Black Lightning in The Brave and the Bold Volume 3, number 24, and had a bit part in Brightest Day, number 23. In the New 52, Static Shock Volume 1 was set in the Prime Earth, and Static again interacted with mainstream DC Universe characters. DC Comics executive announced that Milestone characters along with Dakota City would be incorporated into New Earth under Dwayne Duffy's Worlds Collide. More recently, Black Panther has become the forefront of representation. Other black comic book characters include Miles Morales, which was issued in 2011, Coney of The Walking Dead in 2005, Amanda Waller, which was in Suicide Squad, Adrian Ash in 2011 in Princeless, Camu Congo from Bitch Planet in 2014, Lunella Lafayette in Moon Girl, and Gwendolyn of Saga. But let's also not forget the many black anime characters, some of which include Bob Nakahara. He is a character from the series Tenju Tenji and is known for being the strongest character in the series and one of the only black anime characters with dreads. From the show Bleach, Hiroshi. From One Piece, Kuzan. Canary from the show Hunter x Hunter. From the show Naruto, there's Fourth Raikage. Killer Bee. And Daru. Of course, we all know Afro Samurai. From the show Ichiku and Hatchin, there is Atsuko Jackson and Machiko herself. From Black Lagoon, the character Dutch. And Claudia LaSalle from the show Mikihara Macross. And from the popular show Dragon Ball Z, Yu. There are many African American characters in the superhero world, but historically, African Americans have been underrepresented. If you are a comic book fan, I encourage you to get some of these comics and do your research and enjoy some of the history that African Americans have put place with Milestone Media. And one day, hopefully, we will see some of these characters on the big screen emulating us African Americans as superheroes. Thank you for watching Timeless Black Excellence. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.